So leave that up on your screen, okay? Split the screen for me. Split the screen and put a Word document on your left. Okay? Put a Word document on your left. Perfect. Stop. Okay. So I want you to pull out the paperwork you have. Everybody have one? You don't, come out. Go back to that type test. What is it? Test type and use? Yeah, it's right up here. Make sure you sign in too, okay? Later on. So you can use this to fill in the blanks as we go along, okay? So using the data that you have there, the first question I'll always ask is, what are we testing? What kind of test are we running? Paired sample t-test, okay? What are we running it for? I'm sorry? No, not a definition, but what are the variables? Caffeine and no caffeine, and what else? Hours slept. Hour you sleep, hours sleep, you're fine. Okay? So, whenever we're writing these up, you're always going to open up with what test you're running. So it's right here. A paired sample t-test was to compare what? Caffeine and no caffeine. Okay? Or, I'm sorry. First would be hours slept. Hours slept. And then condition 1 and condition 2, which are caffeine and no caffeine. Okay? The reason you do this is that as you're going through as you're writing the test, without telling the person what test you're running, they don't know what they're doing. And you have to tell them what you're running the test on. Why is the test being run? I ran a paired sample t-test and here are the results. No, it doesn't work that way. It's really a template that you have to go from. Okay? Moving on to the next step. Okay, that's number 2. You want to tell the reader whether or not it was significant or not. Okay? Was it significant or not? Was the test significant? No. Tell me why. Okay, is he looking in the right place? There's 2 SIGs there. Which one do you want to use?
The paired sample correlation.
Nope. Try the other one and you got it right. What's the other one?
Paired samples test.
Yeah. We're looking at the paired sample. We're going to come to the correlations later. Thank you for doing that. Okay? Because that we get those practice things out of the way. Okay? So now is it significant or not? What is the significance value? What is the number? 0.005. So would it be significant or not? Significant. So your next statement is there is a significant difference in the scores for caffeine. Now if you go back to your thing, you find the mean for both. You have to tell both. Scores for caffeine, mean was 5.40. Comma, standard deviation, it was 1.14. Okay, so this tells the reader what the mean was. So you can kind of see it, the story starting to unfold. All the things we looked at that we can't put the boxes into a report, okay, you're telling the story as it's written out on there. Yes?
So when we look at the mean, you said to look at the paired samples test box, correct?
Would be the top box for the mean. Okay? So you need me to go back to that real quick?
Yeah, no, I got it.
Does anybody else need me to go back? Okay. That top box tells you your means. It tells you your standard deviations. Okay? The confusing part is the difference between, as we pointed out earlier, is between the staying away from the correlation until necessary and Anything that has to do with the paired sample t-test is that bottom box. Okay? And no caffeine, the mean and then the standard deviation. Now here's our first, what I call formula, which is at the bottom. Okay? We're dealing with a t-value. Okay? And all of them are written up the same way. So once you learn it and understand it, it'll be very simple. Okay? It's broken down this way. The t, it's a small t. It's italicized. It's butted up right to that open parentheses. This middle number in the middle is your df, which is 4. Close it, space, equals, space. This is the t value. Find the t box, write the value there. Comma, space, p italicized is less than 0.05. So if I was to pick up your paper and this was your study, and I understood statistics enough, I would be able to tell what the two variables, the variables you were looking at, what it was run against, what the means were, and I can make it just a simple mind map of what's important here, which is the no caffeine was higher than the caffeine. At this point, does it really tell you a whole lot? Not really. If we were then to take it and add in male and female, we would run some other tests, we could really look at a lot of things. Okay? So this has to be exactly as it is. Okay? The T has to be italicized, the 4 has to be there, all this has to be written out. Is there any questions before we move on this one? Okay, so now moving on to the next page, okay? Now we have that positive, that correlation box that you were speaking of earlier. Okay? So what would be a sentence for what we're doing here? A, what? Very slight, what? Positive. Was reported at, now R equals out to Pearson correlation. You'll understand this more next week, okay? But for today, it's R equals, and what is the actual correlation number? Which you put all 3 there. 0.38. Okay? Comma. P is what? Greater than or less than? Greater than 0.05. Okay, so next week, this one will be pushed to the next step where you will be running a scatter plot to pinpoint all of the data in terms of the actual the correlation. Because there is a visual to this correlation that makes it very easy to understand this. Okay? So we know that it's very slight. We also know that it's significant. Okay? Okay, now we're going to move on to the next step, which now is your conclusions. Okay? The results suggested caffeine has an effect when compared to hours slept. Okay? You can report this either way. The opposite way is the results suggested no caffeine has an effect on when compared to hours slept. When you're dealing in a relationship, okay, it's generally equal. Sometimes for readability, one sounds better than the other. When you're doing a conclusion like this, you read it and it just doesn't make any sense. You flip the script and it looks perfect. It sounds great. So this is the one I went with, was the result suggested caffeine has an effect when compared to hours slept. As a scholarly reader, I would then understand that no caffeine also generally has, okay? And we'll get into that next week to give you an idea. I know it because it's positive, okay? If it was negative, one goes one way and one goes the other, okay? Just a little heads up for next week. And it is on the quiz when you do the quiz for this one, okay? So we have this general statement here. The results suggest that caffeine has an effect when compared. Now there is a secondary conclusion, okay? And it always starts in statistics with the word therefore, which is a concluding statement. Therefore, it's kind of like, listen up. I got something to say. Okay? Therefore, comma, the results suggested when humans consumed caffeine, the number of hours they slept decreased, or decreases. Depending on how when I'm reading it to you, I'm reading it decreased. Okay? So when you're writing this up, when you're going to do your next one on your own, and you're going through this, the idea is that there is a direct answer. And then there is a finishing answer. That's what I call it. It's the finishing answer. Okay? So because you're having a relationship, and it's kind of like when my daughters fight, we're fighting this weekend. There's a direct relationship to fighting, because one said something, the other one said something, now they're brawling. Okay? I break them up. What happens? One gets mad at me because I broke it up, and the other one's happy that they weren't getting their butt kicked. Okay? I can draw a conclusion from that. I always know who's the mad one, because she's the one getting her butt kicked in my house. The other one's happy that it broke it up. Okay? But the idea is it takes two to tango. Okay? It can go negative positive, or it can be positive positive in your answer. Okay? And then when it's read, that first one tells me by the way it's written that it was a by over here, because this answer right here is positive. It's going to go both ways. So I don't write two sentences. I don't write the results suggest that caffeine has an effect compared to hours slept. And the next sentence would be the same, except I would just put no caffeine in there. It's a given. But then I've got to kind of bring it all together, suggesting when humans consume caffeine, the number of hours they sleep decreased. Okay?
So you wouldn't put those two, you would combine them?
Yeah. You would you put both of these on there, but you're going to have a therefore statement, and this one's just a little deeper, because this one just says it has an effect, and then it's just kind of rewritten. You probably get away with just the one, but that's the way it's done. Okay? It's kind of like you're reiterating it again, hopefully a little longer, and most of these will. So this right here is your template. Okay? This is how all of them will be written up. This is how it'll be written up for your project and that.